Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you Chickendew versus DuroSVK in round 1 of the 3rd Asia Pacific tournament. This was run by Protoss Soccer, so thanks to him for doing just that, as it gives you guys plenty of new competitive replays for me to cast, and that is going to be the case over the next couple weeks at least. So, on this one, we're starting with Carpiquet Duellists. Chickendew is going to be rolling out with the 15th Infantry Scots, and on the Axis side, we have DuroSVK using the 116th Panzer. Now, this is the first time in a long time that I've seen any other player than Gonzo use the 116th in competitive play. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not Duro can pull this off, basically, because Gonzo has quite a unique style in which he brings out the recon aircraft in order to spot the weakness in his opponent's defences, and then he proceeds to exploit that for the rest of the game until his opponent normally surrenders. But if a breakthrough is not made early on with the 116th, they are actually very weak in Phase B. The 15th Infantry Scots can come back very hard in that phase, especially with things like the Churchill 7s and the AVREs. So we're going to have to see if Chickendew can weather the storm, and if he can, things may turn against DuroSVK quite easily indeed. So let's have a look at some of the units going down from DuroSVK. It might give us an idea as to whether or not we're going to see a recon aircraft early on. There is a Panzerwerfer down here, and we see a Panzer 3L, and there's a 232 accompanying that with some Panzergrens for the top side, a 259 and a 251 with a Speertrupp. That seems like too many points to see a recon aircraft, so that's interesting. But I like the way that it's concentrated on the top side of the map there for Duro. Definitely going to allow him to maybe make a punch through on the top side. On the bottom side, Duro is going to be dropping off an MG and a recon there. For the middle of the map, or for the other side, sorry, for Chickendew, we do see an AVRE at the start, which is actually going to be incredibly difficult for the 116th to deal with. There's two AT guns heading for the top side with a command unit as well. We've got AT gun heading towards the bottom side with command, I would assume. There is a command carrier going down there. We also see some rifles. A couple of those rifles will likely head towards the centre, as Chickendew is going to want to secure his ground on the airfield. I'm not quite sure how Duro is going to go about doing that himself. He might decide to send a half track or something to the centre of the map just to make sure that he controls some of the territory on his side of the airfield, because it's pushing infantry onto the airfield is a very easy way to get a +1 throughout the game on Carpiquet Duelists, because often the infantry can stay hidden in these bushes whilst continuing to influence the front line. So far both of these half tracks head down to the bottom, and it looks like a salient may form in the middle of the map if Chickendew gets quite aggressive with his rifles here. Double AT gun on the top side is going to be relatively difficult for Duro here to deal with, especially if his Speertrupp fail at spotting them. Let's have a look and see what he's found so far. So just the command carrier, that's going to be fired upon by the 232 and the Panzer 3, but the AT gun, 2-star AT gun, is going to be opening up and is going to bail out the 232 early on. Killing off the command is actually a really good idea from Chickendew. It leaves all of these units vulnerable to surrender. Let's see how much more work this 6-pounder can do. It's going to be hitting the 251, but we do see the Panzerwerfer now opening up onto the 6-pounder here. He's only used 5 rockets, and it seemed they all missed. Usually, at least one would hit the 6-pounder, but in this case they all went around it. Still managed to pin it down, and pin down the rifle leader as well, which might allow the 259 to surrender the rifle leader, but not ideal. AVRE is going to get hit by the Panzerwerfer as well, but the 6-pounder might just save the day. Gets a shot onto the 259 with the Panzerwerfer reloading as well. There is going to be no more support to stop that 6-pounder from taking that kill. So 259 goes down, 6-pounder still very much alive here. AVRE can take on the Panzer 3. It is in range to use its Spigard mortar And that is going to... Actually, did that track wheel damage the half track there? I think it did, even that from that distance. ME109G6 R6 is coming in for the strafe onto the 6-pounder. AVRE will just try and pin down the Panzer III in the meantime, I'm sure. Now it looks like Chickendew decided not to push with some of his rifles, but with the others here, which is giving him a +1, 52% territory in his favour. AVRE going to be looking for another shot here, actually going to end up aiming at the speed troop. 6-pounder eventually goes down to the ME109G6 R6 though from Duro. Interesting move to rely on this ME109 to pick up that AT gun kill early on. Now it looks like what Chickendew is going to do here is use his AVRE in conjunction with his honeys to pin down and then kill off the Panzer IIIL. These honeys do have just enough AP to penetrate a Panzer III at like 900 meter range. It's only like 12% chance of penetration, but still that's something. AVRE is still sort of being pinned down here, slowly but surely. But honeys are arriving in force, and with Duro relying on 259 for reinforcements, well, that's not really going to do him too many favours. On this bottom side, Duro's reinforcements or defence is still pretty light. In the mid, the half-track did get shut down by the 6-pounder. So now we're focusing on this engagement on the top side, and it looks like already Duro is struggling to hold back this AVRE. It can just continue to creep forwards and try and pin down any units it comes across, whilst Duro will continue to struggle to penetrate. The best idea is for him to maybe use a Panzerwerfer, like a full volley from the Panzerwerfer, to pin down the AVRE, then use that opportunity to kill off the honeys, which will then allow him to maybe rush down the AVRE, get close enough to get a surrender or just a penetrating shot. But in this case, honeys do the job. They actually find the shot into the Panzer IIIL, hit the side armour, and that's job done. It looks like Duro was just trying to get that out of line of sight, but inadvertently got his tank killed, when honestly at that range or that distance, the Panzer III could have continued the engagement for a little while longer. So the AVRE now just going to continue heading up. Honeys aren't going to have a hard time dealing with the 259, so you'll see that get pinned. Honeys just going to be approaching that from both sides, but the Panzergrens here will likely kill off at least one of the honeys before they reveal themselves, especially if the honeys get too close. That one's going to be in line of sight with the 259, I think. Yep, shooter wounded. That honey picks up the kill. And Chickendew just staying out of Panzerfaust range as he moves past those trees. You can see the front line buckling here, so he knows there's some sort of infantry or something he hasn't spotted yet there. That's probably going to be the task of these rifles to reveal as he continues with his honeys towards this Panzerwerfer. I think he's actually in range of that. Just getting out of line of sight though, Duro. And is going to try and get a volley down with that Panzerwerfer onto the approaching honeys. There we go, firing away. That's actually going to hit this AVRE quite hard, I believe. Maybe not. I think the dispersion is not going to hit this AVRE much at all. Yeah, that's a full 10 rounds fired, and Duro really whiffed that one, only damaging the rifles in the process. These Panzergrens get revealed, they're going to get surrendered, and Duro's in a very, very hard spot at the moment. It seems as though the rifles that pushed all the way up were surrendered by the 251, which is going to remove a lot of the territory that Chickendew had, but now it doesn't particularly matter, since Chickendew is making a lot of ground on this top side. Now, Panzer IIIMs at a distance are actually pretty difficult for Chickendew's honeys to deal with. However, as you can see, Chickendew is coming up with a 6-pounder, and that is going to allow him to engage those Panzer IIIs more effectively. Now, this AVRE should ideally be continuing to push up here through the fire and the flames, to get into the 600 meter range of these Panzer IIIs and, you know, force them to sort of fall back rather than allow them to engage with the honeys at max range. But this 6-pounder with the 2-star veterancy, should easily get a couple of kills here. These only have 7 armor after all, but in comes the ME109 G6R6 to stop that from happening. I've actually really liked the ME109 G6R6 here being used as sort of ground support, using the machine guns to strafe the AT gun. It's actually worked out pretty well. One of the Panzer IIIs has been forced back. This Panzer III going to be rolling up to the top side to get line of sight onto the Honeys. 6-pounder continues to be pinned down. Or speared through there. They've been revealed. Oh, poor squad. They're just going to get annihilated. Machine guns opening up from everywhere. Surprised the AVRE hasn't fired yet. It's going to be a grand finale. Boom. One of the Honeys goes down as well. To a Panzer III and another Panzer III arriving. So that's now 3 facing off against the Honeys. AVRE can just shrug off those shots. It looks like 6-pounders are still advancing. The Duro's got to be a little bit careful not to get caught out. Command carrier is going to be very aggressive here. If Duro takes them off return fire, then they will be able to kill this command carrier. There we go. Easy done. But still 54% territory lead in favour of Chickendew at this point. And the closer it gets to Phase B, the harder it's going to get for Duro to make any significant ground. Now if he can hold till Phase C and he gets the Panthers on the board, there isn't much Chickendew can really do about that other than 17-pounders. But on such an open map, 17-pounders can be spotted by recon pretty easily. So Duro here is kind of balancing on a knife edge. There's a very real opportunity that these 6-pounders kill a couple of Panzer IIIs, and then the Honeys, alongside the AVRE, just completely overwhelm him. What I'd like to see now, though, with Phase B arriving, is Chickendew bring in the Churchill 7. That would definitely secure him a vehicle that could easily deal with these Panzer IIIs, have the penetration to kill the Panzer IIIs at max range whilst bouncing all that Duro has to throw against him. So here we are, now in Phase B. Looks like Chickendew is going to be focusing on buying a 17-pounder. The 1,200 meter range engagement is what he's going for, as opposed to the 1,000 meter range engagement, which is the Churchill 7. Now, 2nd Panzerwerfer is being brought in from Duro, and this is a playstyle that I tend to use with the 116th, the double Panzerwerfer, as opposed to, you know, Gonzo's rush style with the 232. But honestly, you can't really argue with Gonzo's results, so maybe his idea with this division is a lot better, because you can see at the moment Duro struggling to hold back this division. Honestly though, I think with the high armour that the Scots can present, they can be used as a direct counter for the 116th. It's a matchup that is actually pretty difficult for the 116th due to low penetration in the early phases. But Panzerwerfer here has been brought in. I'm not entirely sure what that was aiming at. Let's go to Duro's perspective. You can see the 6-pounder. Why wouldn't you take that out? To me that seems like a very odd choice for a full 10 rocket strike. Maybe put 5 rockets there and then change target. But putting a full 10 rockets onto that area seems a bit strange to me. Either way, that Panzerwerfer, if you guys didn't know, you can let it fire 5 rockets and then move it, or just cancel its order, and then fire the second 5 rockets in a completely different area on the same reload. And it's a very easy way to... Again, that's a very odd place. It's a very easy way to like hit multiple targets. Now here, this Panzerwerfer did just about manage to kill that 6-pounder, but it was actually targeted at the rifles, which was odd. 17-pounder has been unloaded. That's going to now smash into these Panzer IIIs that are pushing quite aggressively, but 6-pounder did manage to kill off the half-track on the airfield. Now the salient is opening up again for Chickendew, +2 in Chickendew's favour. Panzer III is just not cutting it. Two of them have now died. It's only a 259 and a 232 left after this Panzer III, and that one's currently being shot at by this 6-pounder. Honey there is pretty lucky to bounce the shot from the Panzer IIIM. But yeah, Duro's in a pretty difficult spot. He needs to get this Jagdpanzer up sooner than later. That could definitely hold back a lot of the honeys that have been thrown his way, but I'm not quite sure what he's going to do about this 17-pounder. He basically needs to have one of his Panzerwerfers hit that sooner than later, otherwise Chickendew is just going to continue to make ground and Duro is just going to have to continue to fall back. And now you can see that even Chickendew is probing on the bottom side. He's coming in here with multiple rifles just to sort of probe and reveal the forces that Duro has down here while supporting them with the honey. And you can see that honey is going to be all that Chickendew needs in order to make a breakthrough down here. And that's going to be really difficult for Duro to deal with since his income is very low in Phase B. Jagdpanzer has arrived up here. That's now going to be engaging the honey. Doesn't have any veterancy though, but is still going to hit with the first shot, which is nice. Ideally, I'd like to see a command infantry or a command vehicle support that Jagdpanzer. Maybe get the 232 to drive up there, because it's very important that that hits almost every shot. Now the Jagdpanzer has been engaged by the 17-pounder. It's going to get 2-shot killed. 17-pounder knocked out the driver so that Duro could not reverse away from that engagement. And that has been very deadly indeed. 17-pounder also nearly one-shots Duro's 259. But it seems as though Duro's had enough. 14 minutes and 20 seconds it took for Chickendew to defeat Duro in the first game of the 3rd Asia Pacific tournament. So, fantastic stuff by Chickendew. Is going to be moving on to round 2. Duro is going to be falling down to the lower bracket. This is a double elimination tournament. So it's all going to get nice and confusing again for you guys. But yeah, this is just round 1. And Chickendew doing a fine job indeed. I think, honestly, picked a really nice counter to the 116th, especially in the playstyle that Duro was going for. Duro's Panzerwerfer strikes were definitely questionable, and that allowed Chickendew to maintain his massive forces pushing forwards. So the kills coming down to the 6-pounders a lot of the time, and the 17-pounder picking up that Jagdpanzer kill at the end was really the last straw for Duro. We also saw this honey side shot a Panzer IIIL, which wasn't very nice for him. In terms of losses for Chickendew, seems like a Panzer III did manage to pick off one of the 6-pounders. This Panzerwerfer only killed one of the 6-pounders, and that Jagdpanzer, of course, picking up the honey there. Ideally, you want these Panzerwerfers to get way more kills. He had 2 of these Panzerwerfers in, and they only got 2 kills between them. And that is probably the biggest problem that Duro had. If he'd managed to be a bit more successful with those Panzerwerfer strikes, then maybe he could have held out a bit longer. But honestly, it's very hard to deal with something like an AVRE as 116th. Those Panzer IIIs just don't cut it unless you're at really close range. And it's quite hard actually to pin down the AVRE, because you need to commit like the entire Panzerwerfer salvo in order to do so. And that basically stops you from Panzerwerfering anything else like the 6-pounders or the honeys, and therefore you've got to find a way to deal with those other 2 targets before you can even rush down the target you've pinned in the first place. So it makes it almost impossible to take out that AVRE early on. Anyway, that has been this game. Plenty more exciting games to come, but I thought I would obviously cast them all since it is an entire tournament. I like to do all of the games in a tournament, not just the best ones, because it sort of gives you guys context as to how each player got to where they are in the tournament. But yeah, that's all for now, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.